went I went in being, as Christine would say, intentional. Is that a word that you'd use, Christine? Where like you know what you want to do with the Lord,
Yeah.
and I was just
Intentional?
focused on that.
You were
Yeah,
intentional.
I was. Yeah.
So what were you wanting to do with the Lord?
So a couple of days ago, I heard the Lord said, "What is the price of your sacrifice?"
Ooh, ooh, that's
And I
intense.
very, very intense. So I'm trying to like, okay, Lord, what are you saying? So you know when that happens, your ears are pricked
Yeah.
and you just listen out for what you think. Is it this? Is it that? Is it the other? And I think I'm getting some things, but one of the things I felt I need to do is that I need to make a decision. And one aspect of it is not just one thing, but one aspect of it is giving my praise to Him is an aspect of sacrifice. So, yeah, I was intentional about that this morning, and a lot of things were confirmed in my praise and worship. Another is, trying to remember what I heard the Lord say, is about my time, being strategic and intentional about my time. I am
Mm.
using my time wisely. So that is something. There are
Okay.
other areas in my life, but last week, not last week, the week before, in my praying and fasting, because I was helping with regards to a friend of mine whose son was being tried for attempted murder or manslaughter. And during that praise and worship, sorry, during that time of prayer, I heard the Lord said, but specifically to me, He said, "What do you want?" And in that, the Lord then replied to me, "You're too lukewarm."
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. And it was quite hard to hear as I continued to listen. The conversation that transpired was I need to make firm decision about something, stop being lukewarm. And he said, I need to like be on fire. I need to turn my face like flint. So I'm learning also what that means. So there are a lot of things happening and it's it's sobering, for want of a better word.
Mm.
Mm.
Oh, that's intense.
What'd you say, Nydia?
That's intense.
Mm.
That's deep, intense.
Yeah.
That's
Um, hmm. I want to talk about that with you. Um, I kind of feel like that's something that we're supposed to be talking about today. So I suppose we should get started anyway. It's already 107 here. So um maybe let's start out with engaging and then I'm going to come back to some of that, okay? You okay, Pearl?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right, let's engage for a little bit about all of this and whatever the Lord wants to lead us in.
I think Amanda's trying to log in because she just texted me.
All right, let's focus back here. Hi, Reverend Amanda.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, hi. I know you guys just hopped on. We've been engaging some. um, so uh at least Pearl and Nidia, is there anything that the Lord was showing you during our engaging time that you'd like to share?
Just to confirm, when you engage, is it about what's happening in the classroom mainly?
For me, I start out going, "Hey, Lord, what's up?" And then he shows me whatever he wants to show me. So usually I say, let's focus in on the classroom, but it's whatever the Lord shows you. It can be something like, for me this time, the Lord was focusing a lot on my own life and showing me different things that had to do with that. And so I think it's different every time for everyone. It's not the same. So
Well, this time it was slightly different because I was sitting on his lap, and when you cuddling into someone, sitting on the lap, cuddling into someone that is much bigger than you. So it's like your little body is in their chest and in their heart. And I just sensed my heart was kind of like entwining with his heart.
mhm.
And I asked okay, Lord, so what do you want to show me about the classroom? Because normally I don't always ask about the classroom. And I'm not sure. Yes, this was in the classroom. So I saw what looked like a crab. And it's like, Lord, I'm sure this is not good news if it's a crab. And I saw the crab eating, but from the shallow, like towards the shore, eating things. I said, Lord, what does that mean? He said, I didn't call you to be eaten from a pig pen. So I'm not sure, it wasn't directly related to me, but it's like whether it be someone or the classroom or whatever. He said, I didn't call, it was only one crab. I didn't call you to eat from the pig pen. I called you to be eaten in my house, to be partaken of my glory. And in the classroom, I saw like a wind being blown through the classroom. So, like all the papers were being lifted, and simultaneously, there will be dust, even though I didn't see the dust. I just know that there'll be dust being blown up as well. So, it seemed as though the wind was coming like from a fan. And when I kind of like focus in, what I was getting is that it's not like a hurricane or storm or anything like that. It's just a wind in the classroom, localized to the classroom. And I just sense the Lord saying that things that can be moved that are not, you're not talking about heavy things, but they will be blown up, as in blown up from the desk, not blown up as in the negative explosion type thing. And out of all of that, the summary of that image is there's a stirring in the spirit,
A what in the spirit?
a stirring.
Stirring. Gotcha.
Mhm.
Cool. Thank you. That helped me a lot. Nadia, how about you?
I got a little bit. But I met with Christine this morning about governing our mountain. And so I kind of had a continuation of that where um I was I like to be Papa's little girl, you know? And he was just talking to me love. He wasn't like scolding me or anything like that, right? But it's basically like just having like this talk where you got to start reigning. You're a queen. You got to start reigning. And I'm like, but I want to be Papa's little girl, you know? I just want to be under his arm and in his bosom, and I don't really want to rule. Kind of like that. I'm sorry. Just being real and vulnerable here as being a little bratty. And so, yeah, Daddy was like, yeah, well, There is a time and a place, and there's a time that's coming that I need you to step up and start ruling and governing your mountains. And I just felt my soul just cry, like a little bratty girl. And so I was just crying on I was just crying to the Father. Like, oh, I don't really want to, but he's right there by our side, teaching and learning. He's gonna push us to take the next step in the next level. So I'm sorry that most of my engaging was being a bratty girl.
No, actually, it has a lot to do with what we're talking about today. So both of them, it's interesting. Both what Pearl was saying and what Nidia was saying is just confirming a million things to me. And so I think it's awesome. River and Amanda, I don't mean to leave you out in any way. Were you engaging and I didn't know it?
I did engage when I came on and there was nobody talking. I figured you guys were engaged.
Good.
But it was just I didn't get anything. I wasn't there very long.
I know you guys were there for like a minute or two. And so sorry. Amanda, how about you?
Well, I didn't think we had class today. That's why I was late. Sorry.
Oh,
I don't know why I thought that. I don't know why. But anyway, so when I started engaging, there was an incident that happened between me and my sister this morning, and I really felt bad about it, and so I was engaging and just started like asking the Father, to forgive me, and then just give her a hug and just really show her that she's truly loved. And he just started showing me, like his love for her. And I wasn't gonna say anything because I was like, yeah, but that's about me, didn't have anything to do with the classroom. But I guess um just showing me, like I was just kind of like bearing my heart to him and telling him, and just thinking about how, I'm gonna apologize to her and talk to her about the whole situation. And that was it that I engaged over.
that's good. Cool. Well, I as I was engaging, the Lord kept bringing up a lot of different things in my own life that had to do with what we're talking about today, which is resolve. And I was realizing I had a fight with my little sister yesterday. And so what did you say, River?
Oh, sorry. It's just that I also had something uncomfortable with my little sister yesterday, and I didn't. When Amanda was talking, I didn't hear who she had the conflict with.
Her
So then when you
sister.
said it, yeah, I had this little sister thing yesterday. So
Yeah. So I don't know if it's Amanda's older or younger sister. I have no idea. Amanda, is your sister younger or older?
She's older.
Older. Okay. Well, so I'll say this. The Lord was showing me that yesterday during our, I would say, I would call it a fight. I don't know what it was, but it was about ministry and what, Nidia, you're talking except for your mute.
Disagreement or conflict.
You what?
We could call it a disagreement or a conflict. Not necessarily a bad thing.
It was more than a disagreement. It was definitely more than a disagreement. Definitely conflict. Anyway, I think for me, a lot of things that I struggle with resolve has to do with my people pleasing tendencies. Okay, so I'm a super feeler, and in my soul, I am a super feeler. Let me be clear. Also, I know that it is how I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to be a feeler. Not everybody is, but I am. Okay. Almost every time I get in a conflict with my sister, it ends up being super feely. She is not a feeler, and she thinks me feeling is stupid and that I'm trying to take over everything with my feelings. That's always what happens, which it's not true. I can't help it. You guys know this. Look at me. I'm crying and I can't help it. I can't turn it on and off. It just happens. And it's fine. Actually, it took me a long time to recognize that it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only okay, it's good.
Mm-hmm.
One benefit to being like this is I don't hold everything in. And I deal with it. I deal with my shit all the time. Okay. That's the truth of who I am. I deal with it with myself. I deal with it with the Lord. And so yesterday I'm having this fight with my sister. And it is a fight. It was something that everyone in the room was freaking out about. And it was over ministry. And you guys probably know this by now. I only do what the Lord shows me to do, ministerially, for sure. Okay. When He shows me this is what I'm supposed to do, I do it, even if I don't want to. I try to do that every step of the way, like with every single part of it. And not everyone will understand that. Even those who are close to you and even those who love the Lord. Okay, because my sister loves the Lord. She's not a bad person. She's very different than me, but she's not a bad person. But she will disagree with things that I do. And I have to have resolve and not just bend because I'm a feeler. And so the Lord was kind of giving me healthy conviction about last night, because she starts raising her voice and getting upset about things and blaming me for everything and assuming things about me for everything. And I have a tendency to try to keep the peace. So I will try to say you're right and I'm wrong, even when I'm like bullshit in my mind. Okay. I will try to do that all the time. It's dumb. But I'm like not telling the truth to try to get her to be quiet and to try to get her to let up and to just leave it. And so instead of saying, actually, that's not true, this is what I do, or this is why, I just go, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. And I am really not sorry. I'm really not wanting to. I am sorry for making her feel bad all the time. Um, but I'm not sorry for what the Lord's calling me to or what I'm doing.
Right.
And um, there is so much that, as very abnormal Christians that we are, okay, each one of us, when I say abnormal, it's we are extremists, okay. If you haven't figured it out, that's not a good word in this world, but we are extremists. We are extreme spiritual people who are very, very relationship oriented with the Lord. And everything we do, we try to do as the Father shows us. There are things that he shows us that I can speak from my own personal walk. I could give you a million examples. On one side, I feel like I'm an extremely obedient person with the Lord. And then on the other side, I go, well, I bent too much on that. Well, I kind of let that one go. And I start to realize kind of what Pearl was talking about earlier, which a couple of you missed, but this lukewarm thing. And being lukewarm is not who we are. That's not who we are. Okay. If we are acting like we're lukewarm, we have got to reevaluate. This is not who we are. We cannot continue to stay this. We have to be the people that have a great resolve to do what the Father says to do, just like Yeshua. Okay. Remember, he's in the garden. He is suffering in the garden before he is led to the cross, basically, right? He is suffering and he is like, please, if there's any way, just don't make me go through this. But whatever you want, God, not what I want. And then he went on to do the hard things. And when I say the hard things, it was really freaking hard. It wasn't kind of hard. And a lot of times when things are hard for me, even if it's not the same hard as Yeshua went through or the same hard as you go through, when it's hard for me, sometimes I bow and I get out instead of actually going through it. But I've had other times that people don't understand and I walk through it anyway. And one of the things that I think one of the hardest times for me was when the Father told me I was supposed to get a divorce. And that was probably the hardest thing I had to do. I knew no one would understand. He even showed me how hard it would be. Like he gave me this vision of me walking down this road and all of these stones and boulders were flying at me like in a storm. And it was very painful and very difficult. But then he showed me when I got through that, there was complete peace on the other side. And so I knew it wasn't going to be easy. I was scared for my kids. I was scared for what it would do to Destin. I was scared with, how it would destroy my ministry, which it didn't, but that's what I thought. I mean, I had all these different fears about what would happen. And I remember the hardest part for me was one day after I'd already told Dustin all the things. And I said, you really need to find someone to talk to about this and engage with that's besides me, somebody else. And he didn't have friends except for me. Like, he didn't have any. And there was one person who always liked him and cared about him. And he felt like he could go to, and I thought it would be great. River knows this person. And he went to him, and instead of that guy engaging with him and doing the things that I was hopeful that would happen, instead, he told Dustin that I am not following God's will and he's the leader and he needs to get me in line, and that I need to come under him, and that I will not be getting a divorce. So Dustin came trying to pull out his leadership card for the first time in our freaking marriage, by the way, and tried to tell me, no, this isn't happening. And you need to do what I say. And you need to have sexual relations with me as a married person. And you need to come in line, and we're not getting a divorce. And that was the hardest time for me to have resolve. And I just told him, I am not going to follow you. I'm going to follow the Lord. And he for sure told me this. I know I did not like what he told me, but he did. And this is what I'm doing. And I said, you will never sleep with me again. We are getting a divorce, whether you want to or not. I know how it works in my state. And if I file for divorce and you don't sign it, there's a time that it will go through. After a couple of years, it will go through because of that. And so I said, I know we are getting a divorce. And it was the hardest thing for me to do, to keep my resolve that day, because finally he's starting to step up as a leader that I've hoped for all my life. You know, he didn't believe me that it was from God that day, even though he did prior. I didn't want to. But I knew what the Lord said 100%. And so I knew I had to. I also had no income. So I was like, what am I going to do? Wait tables? Like, how am I going to provide for my kids? Nothing made sense for me to be able to do what God told me to do. But he provided every step of the way what I needed. Every time, if I would just stick with him and do what he asked me to do, he would provide a way for his will to come about. And you know what? I'm on the other side of it finally. And I have that peace. And I'm no longer hit by those boulders. And I was for a while. For quite a while, I was. And I'm finally through it. And the peace is worth it. The peace is so worth it. Even him growing in his faith was worth it. He grew so much in his walk that now he actually leads his other family he has now. It's so cool how it all has worked out. And I know that if I was lukewarm in that moment, and I was 1 foot in and 1 foot out and let it drag on for years, and you know what I mean, and just didn't do what I was supposed to do because I was letting somebody else control my emotions or whatever, I wouldn't be in the place I am. He wouldn't be in the place he is. We wouldn't even have the school. Do you know that? That this school came about because what the Lord led me into for finances later. And so all of this, so many people would be affected if I didn't choose to do what he said to do. In one area of my life that I never assumed would affect everything else. All I could see was negatively what would happen. But the Lord had a plan that would change lots of people's lives. Because, we've had people in this class, in our ministry school, it's not just this class, but in all of our ministry school, we've had people who have gone on to lead many others and who are really changed and who have grown to be functioning from heaven and ministering in the earth. And that's what was supposed to happen. And it couldn't have happened if I didn't walk through what I went through. And so I know one of the things that the Lord told me when I first started engaging heaven, and I made really stupid mistakes. Okay. Let me tell you what happened. I was engaging and I was part of a church, a normal church, typical church. And we'd have services every week, and we would have other ministries who'd come in and minister too. And everyone knew that I was a strong believer. Okay. That was kind of just, everybody knew that. I didn't have any official role. I was just, everybody knew, go to Christine for prayer, stuff like this. And I started engaging. And when I started engaging, it totally shifted my whole life. I had a completely different relationship with the Lord than I ever had before. And I functioned differently. Everything I did was seeking the Lord. And there goes Amanda. Bye, Amanda. And so when I was like this, all of a sudden, I didn't know how to pray in the old way. So some of you are a little better at that than me, but I used to always lay hands on people and, Father, we come to you in the name of Jesus, blah, 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 right? Okay, same stuff that everybody does in the church. And I was totally like that. And then all of a sudden I'm engaging and it's different. And I didn't really feel right about praying in the old way, but I also didn't know how to not make people uncomfortable and freak out. And so I kind of did a mixture. I did a bit of the 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. I was engaging, but I was pretending like I wasn't. So I would be like engaging even in the courts and having to try to say things as I'm praying that don't sound like it. Okay. So just to make people not freak out and be uncomfortable. And I would kind of, I don't know. I try to do this, try to navigate it, because all the time people go, Christine, will you pray for us? And I'd be like, sure. And then it was so funny before, no nervousness about praying in front of people. But all of a sudden now I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And so I did it anyway. And I did this kind of mixture thing, trying to have tact. I'm thinking I'm being good to the people. And then all of a sudden one day, the Father said, you have to stop. You're lying. And I'm like, what? I'm not trying to lie, And he's like, you're lying about who you are and what you're doing. And I'm like, oh. And so from that point on, I started just saying, well, you guys, I don't pray the same way as everybody else. So I'm just going to listen to the Lord and like pay attention, focus in the heavenly realms and see what he shows me and then share that. And so that's what I started doing, even with people who didn't understand. And someone said, Christine, will you pray over me? Sure. Except for then I'd say, so I just so you know, I don't pray like everybody else. And this is just what I would do. And I became stronger and I became more myself. And people started to understand who I thought wouldn't understand. And it was not only fine, it was better. And even when I was around people who, like, I was part of a Mary Kay group and they were believers. Okay. Everybody was believers in the group, pretty much. Anyway, it was led as a Christian group. But when they would say, let's all pray over this girl, they always knew I'm in ministry. Everybody knows Christine's in ministry. So that means she should lead everything. And I hated it because I don't lead like everybody else. And so they're thinking they're going to get a smooth prayer before dinner. And I'm like, so Yeshua, will you take us to the tree of life? Or, you know what I mean? I don't even know what I'm doing. I just kind of do whatever I want to do and pray the way I pray, asking him to lead me to the banqueting table or something. Lead us all. Let us eat from you. We're so grateful for having provision, you know, whatever. But it's not, God bless the food to the nourishment of our bodies and thank you for the hands who prepared it, blah, blah, blah. I don't do that. I never do that. I'm not going to pretend like I'm talking to God. And I know that might sound rude. Okay. Maybe some of you do that, and I'm sorry if you do. But for me, I've stopped this in my whole family. When somebody prays like that and does this, dear God, thank you so much for our food and we appreciate blah, blah, blah. And in Jesus' name, amen. I go, were you actually talking to him? Because to me, it's rude to pretend like you're talking to God and you're really saying something that's just words. To me, it's rude. And so I go, wait, were you really talking to him? Because I can tell you weren't talking to him. And I think that this is important, that we are who we are. We don't have to be rude. That was a little bit rude, but with my kids, they're used to how I act. And so like they know if I'm saying that, yeah, that I probably wasn't talking about. And so it's not a big deal for me. But what the Lord has shown me is there is a 1 foot in and 1 foot out that is lukewarm. And even me, who feels like I'm a strong Christian, can be lukewarm. He can tell me to do something and I drag my feet for years just because I don't want to get around to it. I've done that with book writing. I know Pearl and River know about that. Like this is, I've done that because I would do a really good job, and then I felt like I couldn't do anymore. And then I just didn't get around to it, dragged my feet. The Lord told me to do it. He told me it's a really big part of what I'm supposed to do. And still, I haven't finished the book. And so there are certain things that we need to refocus on who we are. One of the things I think Pearl was talking about, I think it was Pearl, when you were engaging, the Lord really showed me while you were talking about how there are many people in our class who are still trying to feed from normal church. Okay. Do you know what I mean by that? No? Okay. It doesn't even have to be normal church. It could be videos, it could be books, it could be whatever. Okay. I'm going to say normal church because a lot of people go to a normal congregation and they try to get fed there. Okay. Yes, Nadia, you want to say something? Oh, I can't hear. Oh, there you are. Okay. Say it again.
I said, I think I know. It's where we want the others just to spend time with the Father or study and get revelation, and we just, they just bring it to us and we just receive it, and we're like, okay, good, good. Being the little girl, just being in the bosom of God and just be like, yeah, just take care of me. That kind of.
Yep. So exactly what you were saying with how you're doing that is this 1 foot in, 1 foot out thing. It is the same thing. It is us trying to not take all of our responsibility. And the truth is, we are supposed to be eating at the Father's house. That's where we're supposed to be feeding from, is in the heavenly realms. We aren't supposed to be just consuming a bunch of books, consuming a bunch of videos, consuming a bunch of worship services, consuming a bunch of prophetic words, whatever it is that y'all do. When I say y'all, I do it too sometimes. And so let me be clear. I'm talking to us all, but I'm just saying that was a big deal that the Lord showed me while you were talking about the bottom feeders. Okay. We're not supposed to be doing that. It is fine for some to do that. It's not fine for us. If you are in this class, you are beyond the point of being a bottom feeder. Okay. You don't need to have a million people preach and teach to you. I mean, if the Lord tells you to listen to something, by all means, do it. Please. But eat from heaven. This is where you're supposed to be getting your mentoring. Your rabbi is Yeshua. Like, come on. This is a different way. We are receiving from heaven, releasing into the earth. That's who we are. If you're trying to receive from earth all the time, you are missing it. You're missing it. And you're staying a little baby. And so, it is easier to be a child. It is easier to be a baby. It is easier because you don't have to worry about governing. You don't have to think about getting stuff yourself. You just go, oh, I'll take it from somebody who already got it. And that's something that, it was easier back then, but it wasn't nearly as fulfilling. It was not. I mean, does anyone feel as fulfilled from listening to a good teaching as listening to something the Lord is showing you? Like,
I was just thinking about that, Christine. I was just thinking that the services that I hear on a Sunday is like I wish they could be deeper, more enriching, more nourishing. And as I thought that, another thought came to me. Am I being judgmental by
I
saying that?
always think that. I am the same. Every time I go to normal church, I think, why am I so judgmental? I hate this. I'm like, this is how, I'll be judging in worship. I'll be judging the whole freaking time. I'm like, these lyrics aren't even the truth. Like, this is what I do. I'm like, oh, it's like such a half truth. I can't sing that. And I never was like that before. It's like before I started engaging, it's like I didn't even notice. And all of a sudden I start engaging and I'm being worse on the earth. That's how I feel. Okay. I'm listening to a preacher. I'm like, oh my gosh, he doesn't even know the Lord. Like, I mean, it's terrible. I do this. And I have realized it's bad for me to go to church because I get so judgy. Okay. So this is me. I'm not saying it has to be you, but this is me. It is a struggle. I often do it if, somebody's getting baptized, so I go and support them. and I hate the whole thing except for the baptism. But I am there and I start seeing, oh, there are these angels here, but they're bored and nobody's talking to them and nobody even knows what they're supposed to be doing. And this is what I see the whole time I'm at a church service. And it's hard. I'm like this not just with normal churches. When we were at this immortality conference, I was so judgy. River should know because she stayed with me and she had to listen to me be a judgy, horrible person. But I'm just like, there was good stuff, like some really good stuff. Then there's like, the Lord told me don't receive from that person. The Lord told me don't receive from that person. And I'm trying to go, okay, how am I supposed to be here and not participate? And so the Lord showed me, no, you're supposed to release. So even there's this time when this one guy was up and he was having everybody come up for healing. And so I know I've been struggling with my type 1 diabetes. I would love to get healed from that. So I'm like, Lord, can I go up and get healed? He says he heals every person. And so I'm like, can I go get healed from that? And the Lord's like, no. I'm like, ugh. So I'm just standing on the side because everyone goes up, literally every person. And I'm just standing on the side. I'm sure everyone's thinking I'm going to go up. And then the Lord says, no, you need to go and heal that guy, the guy who's releasing all the healing. And he said he's healed of everything. So I'm like, really, Lord? And he just said, no, you need to heal his pineal gland. You need to go up to him and you need to speak to him and you need to tell him that you're going to do this and you're going to need to heal him. I'm like, okay, thinking this is his time. I'm not trying to like overcome his time. And so I wait till I'm the last person and I go up and I kind of pretend like I'm going up to him for healing. But then I start releasing everything over him and telling him what the Lord showed me and all of this. And I thought he's going to think I'm crazy because he said he's healed from everything. And so he's not going to believe me. But I'm just like, I got to do what the Lord said to do. Then a couple days later, he goes, the Lord showed me what you were talking about with the pineal gland. And I've been working on my pineal gland and all of this. I'm like, good, because I was just like, oh my goodness, it's nerve wracking. Like I was really nervous about doing that. And I'm at this thing thinking, how can I be here and not receive like everybody else? I want to. I always want to receive. I want whatever the Lord has for me. Give me the fullness. That's what I want. And then he's like, hey, that person who's prophesying, don't receive it from him. And so this guy was prophesying over me, tried to push me over about 3 times. I had bruises on my abdomen from him trying to push me over. And I didn't get pushed over because it wasn't the Holy Spirit. It was him doing it in the flesh. And there were certain words. He spoke a lot trying to prophesy over me. And there was like one thing that I know he said that was from the Lord for me. And the whole rest of it, I had to throw out the window. And I know that this is how the Lord works. You have to eat the meat and spit the bones. And so if there's stuff you're listening to a teaching and you get like pretty much nothing out of it, just go, Lord, I want whatever you have for me. If you call me to be here, I want to be here for your reason. And if he doesn't call you to be there, don't go. Just don't. If he doesn't call you to read this book and watch this video, don't do it. Why are you going to waste your time? Because you don't need to get fed by the world. You need to get fed from the heavenly realms. And so as you're doing this, you ask, okay, Lord, what do you want from me? Why am I here? Why are you forcing me to listen to this? Because I felt forced. Okay. I'll tell you what, at that immortality conference, especially there were 2 other speakers. I'll be completely honest, though I love them, I hated listening to them. And it was something I felt forced by the Lord to do. And it wasn't because I was supposed to receive a bunch from them. It was because I was supposed to be there to minister. So even when they're speaking, I'm supposed to be ministering. Instead of be judging and all this, that wasn't the good part. I was not doing a good job when I was doing that. But I was supposed to be ministering to them, ministering to the room, ministering to everybody. And so if the Lord calls you to something and you're like, I don't get it, I'm not receiving, what are you doing with me, Lord? You need to go, why am I here if you're calling me here? And start doing that. If the Lord calls you to do hard things, instead of dragging your feet for years like me, please don't. Just be obedient, be like Christ, and go, okay, right now. I mean, okay, remember I was talking about the divorce thing? After that weekend, because I found that on a Friday. After that, it's all I can think about. Oh my gosh, I have to do this. And so then I'm like, Lord, when do I need to tell him? What do you want me to say? This is what I'm doing the whole time. And I was doing this for like a whole day. And finally, the Lord said, I already told you, you just need to do it. And so it was more like, oh crap, I thought maybe I'd have a month or something. And he's like, I told you, now do it. Sometimes the Lord calls us to quick obedience. If he tells us something, it's part of who we are, it's what we're supposed to do. Other times he says, you need to wait. And so, whatever you do, make sure that you're doing it according to his timing and not your own. Because there are certain things that I haven't done that I know I was supposed to do. And I don't know if the time has passed now. You know, is the time past, or am I just still supposed to do it and haven't done it yet? I'm thinking about this. I'm supposed to get an Airbnb in South Africa. I've been supposed to do that for years and I haven't done it. I just haven't done it. I'm a little like, I don't know. How does this work? Buying land or buying a place in another country. I don't even know if I couldn't even buy something in my own country. Like, how do I do this? And honestly, just the details of it have gotten me stuck. And it's not even a big deal. That's not even a giant obedience thing. It's a small little childlike obedience thing. And I haven't done it. And so there are certain things that we need to just get on and go, okay, Lord, am I still supposed to buy this Airbnb? Is this still your will? Or do I need to do it now? Or do I need to give it up now because I was too slow? You know, because I do think that both of those things can be real. Anyway, that's what today was really about, was about resolve and about not being lukewarm. Oh, another thing that the Lord, I forgot he wanted me to share about this. Intimacy. This, I don't remember who was saying, I think it was Pearl. Yeah. When you were laying in the Father's heart and you felt this like intertwining. I don't know if that's the right word that you used, but of your hearts. It's a certain level of intimacy that not everyone is ready for, but everyone has to come to in order for the restoration of all things to happen. And so not everyone has been given that word, but that's something specific to my mandate and my destiny that I know because of that. And so this level of intimacy is something that we are all called to, but many are too timid to enter into. I don't know if we are in this group. I know I'm not, but I don't know about everybody else. Obviously, Pearl's not because she was doing it. But we need to make sure that that's a priority, that we step fully into intimacy, into this way that's intertwining with him, a complete and utter vulnerability, where we open ourselves completely to him for him to take us over. And when we do that, we move with him. It's kind of this whole thing that Nidia's been experiencing lately with the expanding her spirit together with the Lord, right? With the Father. That is part of that whole intimacy thing. And so when we do this, we need to make sure that this is a priority and that we can gently lead others to do the same thing. And so part of us living from heaven instead of from the earth is that we lead others to be like not like us, but like in the intimate way, like us, okay? Into that same sort of intimacy. And when we are pretending to function as, quote, normal church, if you know what I mean, we aren't doing that. Okay. And so it's really important that, and I'm saying this thinking to myself, in certain areas of my life, I lead lots of people like this. In other areas, I don't do it well. With my kids, I don't do it well. I used to, and I don't anymore. And I regret it. And I need to be better about all of us seeking that true intimacy all the time. I kind of have left them on their own to grow in the Lord. They have a requirement to engage every day with homeschooling. It's terrible. But that's just, I trust that they're doing it. But we don't really engage together that often anymore. And I think if I had continued to do that all the time, then we would be in a different place as a family. I even think about, I specifically have our Tuesday evening dinner times together where we all share a highlight of the week and a thankfulness to the Lord of the week. We do that stuff together, but we're supposed to engage together. I know we are. And I have been timid about it because it's uncomfortable. And I think everyone here can probably relate to me in that way, that there are certain people you're around that you know, like you should lead deeper, but you kind of just feel a little timid about it and don't do it. And so we need to be the people that we lead everyone around us into the truth because we fully embody the truth, you know? That we don't have God calling us a liar like he did to me. Oy, isn't that terrible? I'm sharing a lot of vulnerabilities, I think, today.
I've got a vulnerability.
Go ahead. Thank you for saving me.
Uh, so last week's session was about releasing revelation.
Yes, ma'am.
So I think the Lord released the revelation to me. And did I mention that there was a point last week where I felt I was angry with the Lord? Can you remember mentioning that last week?
I don't remember that.
No. So I was early as in the morning is the time I tend to be more lucid in my revelation and in engagement with the Lord for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
So I sense I was angry with him. I was talking to, sorry, I'm just charging up.
Cool.
I was speaking to him about why do I feel I have a heart for the homeless whenever I see people on the streets. Yeah, there's just something about it. I mentioned it to the Lord, and then I saw myself standing outside um, the gates of Eden. And I was really angry with the Lord. And the Lord said to me, I am angry with him. No, I'm telling him that basically he was unfair for chucking me out. I don't know why. In that kind of argument, or the way I felt, was as a result of that, he's made me homeless. That's what I was registering in my spirit, deep in my spirit. I also felt that I was linking that with probably why I always have this empathy towards those who are homeless. The Lord helped me to deal with that. And the two angels were then, rather than standing with their swords crossed at the gate, they were simply standing at the pillars of the gate with the sword like this. You know, when you hold a sword, but you hold it like this, pointing upward. And I sense myself walking back into the Garden of Eden. But that walk from the two pillars of the gate, it seemed like there was a fair walk into before I got to the garden itself. I felt the atmosphere of that walk was quite like affirming. I even sensed that they were in the kind of like brazen fire pit where as I was walking it's as though I was pulling things from my spirit, you know, like slime or whatever it was. I was just pulling it from my spirit. I was walking through and just flicking it into the fire pit. I sensed also when I got there, there was this, I don't know why I expected to see like a garden itself, but there wasn't like all these plants and everything else. I was just standing on like moss, just soft green moss, but I can feel like the water under it. And then the Lord and I embraced. And then I sense that there was I want to say like there was just this single tree, but I can't, it wasn't that vivid in there. In arguing with the Lord, I then had to repent, but during that repentance, I sensed the Lord bringing me back into the Garden of Eden. Then a couple of days ago, he was reminding me of that time when I felt like the prodigal son being brought home, and he threw a party for me. And I mentioned that on this course where one person was invited, and I asked, who is that person? And the Lord said, he's from the cloud of witnesses. And then later on, a lot more of them appeared. And in that room, the room was just full of guests that were there. We enjoyed the party. This time, a couple of days ago, I saw another side of that engagement. Rather than just being the prodigal son, the Lord also showed me I was also the ungrateful son who stayed behind. And in the Lord talking to me about that, I sensed him said, why didn't you give me a party? Because I stayed. And this is where he explained to me that basically I didn't recognize that. He said, I don't have to give you the things that already belong to you. You just need to use what I've given you. So, in that revelation of who I am as both the prodigal as well as the ungrateful son, the Lord is showing me there need to be an integration in my spirit of the two sides. And then somehow I felt myself, what do you call it, decreeing and declaring who I am in terms of my sonship with God. So I felt that kind of settling into the position of sonship. Not, it wasn't just you are a son of God. It was like an atmosphere in itself. And I just felt myself just like like entangling, entwining with the atmosphere of sonship is what I felt.
Awesome.
So I'll stop there for now because I've been having quite a lot of encounters, more or less like every night as I engage, the Lord is showing me things. They're more and more rapid. But I was surprised that the Lord was showing me what I really felt. And in thinking about it after the engagement, is like, does that mean I'm still feeling and experiencing some of the things from Adam and Eve, even though I am in the blood of Jesus? Is that possible?
For sure, that's possible. I mean, you can be experiencing things then or even before then, you know. We I think what you were experiencing though, if I can just tell you, I think that you being kicked out of Eden and all of that is that Sophia part of you. When you were kind of kicked out. I didn't even know how to say that correctly and if I actually did. But when we talked about that, um you were kind of kicked out like Lucifer, okay? And I know that sounds strange, but that's what I saw. And this is before I met you, so I saw that part of you was that happened. And then I also was part of the welcoming back committee, if you will. And um and so I definitely understand, because it was in the spirit. I understand the kicking out feeling and the welcoming back feeling, all of that you had. And, I really resonated with what you were talking about with the two different sons and how you felt that way, because I saw that the reason you even got booted out to begin with was because you felt like that ungrateful son. That's what it was. And you were jealous. You were jealous of the humans. That's what it was. And so I didn't even tell you guys all that stuff probably. But that's like a big part of what it was and why you tried to destroy some of the humanity. And all of that, and you did it in kind of a sneaky way, but then you were caught, and so you were booted out. So then when you came back, you were like the prodigal, because the father did want you back and did, you know, accept you back as if you were never gone. And yeah, anyway, I can see both of those parts being who you are in the spirit, for sure. And it's interesting to hear you talking about it from the soul, of who you are now.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Um, I'll just finish by adding, as I was standing outside the gate, ready, like to go in, there was a sudden intrusion of what looks like an eel, but then it looked like a snake, and then it looked like a dragon. It came right up to my face, close to me. But because I was standing there with the Lord, there was no threat. I didn't sense that there was any threat within that creature. And somehow I didn't even flinch in my spirit. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even moved in my spirit when I saw it. It was as though it didn't have any power within itself. It is what it is, but there was no power within it, as it kind of like launched its nose right close. And know when you're threatening someone to a fight and you just kind of like face to face in there, and then it just backed off.
Love it. Those different parts is uh the snake, the eel, the dragon. in different realms, that's how fallen angels manifest. And so it's interesting. I think you are experiencing from the highest realm, a higher realm, to where you can understand none of that's a threat. Because when we function from those higher realms, nothing feels like a threat at all. It just is like, oh, that's happening. I mean, it's really like we understand, but there's no, it's kind of like you can't touch me, it doesn't matter, you know? And so it's really cool to hear you saying that, because it means that you're really functioning at a higher place instead of this whole beating up the enemy bit, you know, if that makes sense. Or being beat up by the enemy. That's awesome. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that was so beautiful. Thank you.
Mm. Well, you guys have anything else to share on this subject? Amanda, I think you just unmuted. Yes,
Yeah, I had a question.
go ahead.
So listening to Pearl and then y'all are talking about Sophia, right?
Yeah.
So Sophia, who do we identify her as now? Is she wisdom?
And they're not the same, even though that's what a lot of people say.
Okay.
Um, I'm gonna say that. You can seek the Lord on it if you want. You don't have to take what I say.
Yeah, yeah,
But
definitely.
what I have seen and experienced, they are two totally different entities or beings. So, I mean, Sophia is Pearl. So funny. It's weird to say that, but that is Pearl's literal spirit being, is
Uh-huh.
that being Sophia. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Because when I was thinking about it and listening, and then I said, well, I'm glad that she is telling us about this because we are, we have other identities as well. And did I know her before? You know? So
Right.
now I have to seek the Father to see if there's um, was there anything like any friendship with us? Did we live in the same areas or did we engage together before? And I think that's part of intimacy.
Yeah.
And it's gonna make me cry. But anyway, and I think I don't know, that's just what the Father was putting on my heart when I was listening to that.
That's
So
awesome.
thank you.
You,
Yeah.
you know, it's funny you say that, Amanda, because somehow I just have this feeling that it's not a, well, obviously we know it's not a coincidence we're all coming together, but I think it has to do something with us knowing each other before this. You know, the fact that we're together here, it's not just, oh, okay, random. No, like somehow, some way we were still connected. We were connected before this. I just have that sense. And then, yeah, that would be great to engage to see how, we all have something.
I think so, for sure. I know that well, before I ever met Pearl in the earth is when I had this whole experience with Sophia and had no idea that it was the same being. I mean, I then met Pearl, still had no idea, was engaging with her and everything, and had no idea it was the same. I had no clue, like not even a little bit of a clue. And then just one day, it was all opened up to me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can this be real? You know? And I think that this has happened to me with a few other people in the earth, and where I have recognize that I knew them even before the foundations of the earth. So, uh, what I call pre-foundational stuff, other people call it Adamic or whatever. But there are certain people that we are supposed to be reunited with in this timeline, in this world, because of who we are in the spirit, so that we can do the will of the Father on the earth in this time. And so it is wise to seek that and to engage, like, how do I know this person? Is this just another random person, or is this someone who I have a special mandate with? I think that's really important, because there's a lot that needs to happen in the spirit and in the earth. So even like with Pearl, for instance, when I was with her in London and all of this was revealed to me about Sophia and she had no clue, I recognized, oh my gosh, this is a really big part of us meeting and us engaging together, and me being able to reconcile her back to the Father and all of this stuff, because it's a spirit thing that had to happen eventually. And if we wouldn't have naturally been together, it wouldn't have happened, at least in this time. I'm sure there might have been other times that it could have happened, but that was a really big deal for me to know her and meet her. And we are much more connected than probably either one of us know. And I'm sure it's the same with everyone else here. We probably have deeper connections than we know. Just like River was going, oh my gosh, I think I'm actually connected to Nadia and Amanda with this whole Native American stuff, whatever. And they have figured this out. And I think that it takes some digging. It does. It takes a little bit of digging and being open to really weird stuff. Because honestly, if I wasn't open to the weird stuff remember I told you about the apocalypse of John and whatever it was, and having my friend say, hey, will you read this? And then I'm reading it and then I'm like not understanding. So I'm like, Lord, can you please give me some revelation on it? And then all of a sudden he gives me huge revelation that is within and without that scripture and outside of it. That's what started everything with the Sophia stuff for me, which then brought me to Pearl. How weird. And didn't you say, Pearl, that you just like came across me on YouTube or something? Yeah. It's so
Yeah.
wild. Like,
And even that weekend when we met, Christine, I had no intention of meeting with you that weekend. A friend of ours uh, called me and said, oh, Christine will be in London this weekend, and she's asked me to mention it to you. Do you want to come? And it's like, and the Lord literally paid for me to be there because I had no intention of being there. And that's when all this thing was revealed. All the things I've been having over the years with me, kind of like the Holy Spirit just taking me into this room. And he put me down and he said, chamber. And then the Lord took me outside into a garden. I didn't know there was such a thing as being put in the Father's heart. And then chamber is an old word for a room. And this plush room, it was a king's room, and Father was standing there. I can't even begin to describe how kingly this room was. And I didn't know such a thing as being in the heart of Father as a garden, and with me sitting there with him. And I mentioned, going into Wisdom's house, and she's hugging me and all her kids. And I'm talking to Christine, and Christine's face was a picture. I didn't know she was freaking out inside, because when Wisdom say, kids, Sophia's home, And Christine was like, oh, this thing was just going off in her head. I didn't know I was just having a normal conversation with her, but she was doing somersaults in her mind, her head, her spirit, whatever else. And she started to tell me a little bit about it. So that was definitely God ordained because I had no plans to meet you.
I think that's how it is with many of us. Like how we meet one another is absolutely the Lord's doing. I mean, it it has to be. There's this guy in South Africa that I went just to do a conference there. And when I met him, he goes, "Oh, I know you visited me last night." And I'm like, "I did, huh?" And he started telling me about my visitation to him in the spirit last night or the night before. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that does sound like me. And he already knew me before I came. And um, we are so connected in the spirit in a very similar way, like pre-foundational stuff that shouldn't make sense. And he just thought he was being nice by saying yes to some American woman coming out and speaking. And then it turned into this like really amazing lifelong thing. And so you just never know. I mean, you never know when you come across somebody. Be super open in the spirit to why you're there, who you're there for, all of that. And I say, let's take this last amount of time if possible, unless you have more to add. If you guys have more to add on this stuff or any questions, please do. Anybody?
I'd like you to share that experience she's had last week, Nydia, with me in the spirit. That would be lovely testimony.
Say that again, bro.
Nydia, you text me about me meeting with you in the spirit. I think it'd be a lovely testimony to share.
Oh, I was talking about how remember how I think I was engaging with both Christine and Kimberly, and my prayer request were engaging over being a better mom because I am not so much. I don't know. I'm still growing as a mom. See, I'm like I don't even know where I'm at. But if you're a mom, you get me. Um, and I was asking the Lord, right, about just helping me and being a parent through me. Um, and you had mentioned when we were engaging in class, I don't know if it was last class or the class before, um, about the red rose that you saw, that you gave me a red rose, like the Father gave me a red rose. You saw in the spirit that the Father gave me a red rose, and how that represented like motherhood. And so that I was like in shock. So I was just like, okay, cool, Pearl. And then I was like, no, I gotta tell her. I gotta tell her. Because that was the answer to prayer, right? How the Lord responded right away. Um, he knows our hearts and he tells us and he's there with us. I don't know why I'm compelled also to share though, how I had pray because I'm doing this class and I had prayed for a sister and I said, Lord, you know, make a way, make a pathway for her to go. And I felt it in my spirit, like the Father says, well, she needs to want to go first, right? And I thought, oh yeah, that's true. Let it be your will, not my will, right? So as a gentleman, right? And so I said, okay, Lord, we'll put it in her heart for her to go if it's going to be your will and if it's good for her. And it was just a quick little prayer. And this week, this was like over a month ago. And then this week she texted me. She's like, hey, I'm considering about going to the trip for blah, blah, blah. Can you keep it in prayer to see if it's the Lord's will? And automatically I just laughed. And so I responded to her and I let her know what had happened. I said, it is the Lord's will because, and then I told her, and so she just, oh, okay, confirmation. Well, then she's like, okay, if it's last minute, but if I get the day off, that'll be great. If I get the airplane, the air flight, the hotel, if everything falls into place, then I would know that for sure, it is from God. It's for sure, it was from God, obviously, because she's going. So I thought that was cool. But I feel so good because I mean, we engage with the Lord, but I don't know when we get like, to me, that was like a big, huge confirmation to an answer to prayer. Not that I don't get answered to prayers, but it was like immediate to me. And she didn't know that I had that conversation with the Lord. And that was a blessing to her. And then to confirm it that I had done that for her and she didn't even know. And she said, oh, it was so funny because she goes, at least for the last 3 or 4 weeks, it's been in my heart. You should try to go. You should try to go. You should try to go. And she's like, but I can't. I have no more credits to go. Like, I can't. And she kept hearing it in her voice. And she's like, well, I'm going to try. I'm going to just seek out and ask. And then they wouldn't respond. They wouldn't respond. They wouldn't respond. And anyways, they finally respond and they're like, yeah, you have a limited access. You can go as many times as you want. And she didn't know that. She honestly thought that she didn't have the ticket to go. Anyways, so that was so cool. That was really, really cool. I, I, not, I wish Myrna was here too, because I got the privilege to engage with her and we were engaging with Silver, which was such a privilege and an honor because I've always kind of like talked to him, but then, I don't really sense a whole lot. But this time I kind of started and then like I got nothing no more, but Myrna was getting us so much more out of it. And it was like taking us to a different dimension. It was going so about Revelation, the homework, right? Um he we went to like a different dimension and I don't think it was his home, but we went to like a different planet, it almost felt like. And I saw silver, different forms of silver, and then healing, a lot of healing. And he was making like this bowl. He made this bowl. Inside the bowl, he was like making like almost like a silver soup. It was silver. And um we had some of that soup. And I'm assuming it was like, oh yes. And then I thought of liquid silver, that colloidal silver that's very healing for you. And I was like, oh, I go, well, why is it that people or, blah, blah, blah says that you're not supposed to have that because it can be poisonous. Then I heard the word lead and I went on this little research. Well, I didn't know that lead and silver, like you can find silver in lead. And if they don't purify it or go through this purification process, or if they miss a step, there can actually be some lead in silver. And that's how it can be poisonous to us, but not that silver's poisonous to us. I know that this is probably like no big deal. Like, okay, that's good information to know, but like, how does that apply to me? It probably doesn't, but I thought it was like interesting, because I was like, well, why is it that they say that's not good? It could be, anyways. And so he like explained it to me and I feel so blessed because I engage, I'm a feeler and I'll feel and I'll sense things, but most of the time I don't like really go back and forth, back and forth. And I was like, oh my God, I've actually like, I can sense his voice or hearing and whatnot. And it's just the start. It's just the beginning. He's going to show us more. I'm not sure what, but that's pretty cool. 2 weeks before that, when I was engaging with her too, or was it Amanda? I can't figure out. But you know how we were like Amanda and I had like the Lord led us to like terraform the land, the earth. I don't know if it was Myrna or Amanda, but we were like terraforming the water.
It's
Man, if that was just
terraforming.
terraform, oh, I'm sorry, like cleansing. I don't
Okay.
know why I have that word terraforming.
What?
I don't know where that word. I don't know why I even said terraforming. Anyways, it's terra like earth, forming, reforming, purifying,
Okay.
cleansing, spiritually cleansing, or speaking forgiveness of sin. cleansing the land, we
Okay.
were cleansing the water. It was just so cool. And now we're like with silver. And so I don't know why this might be related, but I feel like it is. It's going to be something cleansing. It's going to be something transforming, something. So pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And I had to share. Thank you.
No, that was great. I'm excited for that. Especially, I'm really, really excited about your experiences with Silver because I love him so much. And I just, uh, all these things you were talking about with like, oh, I think it might be another planet because it looks like this and this and this. And I'm like, he showed me, he told me, he took me back to where he's from, his home basically. And it was a different dimension and everything was made out of these different metals and things. And like, it was like even trees were made out of metals and I don't know, everything was like that. And I just thought this is so weird. Nobody's ever going to believe me. And then he sat down and wanted to have tea. And it was like it's so funny. And he would make these things all the time. He made this certain like I'm going to say a weapon, but it wasn't exactly like a weapon. It was more like I don't know. He's just very clever about how he makes things. I don't know how to it does stuff like a I don't know, mechanical sort of thing. Anyway, then he had us play a game and I used to go and play these games with him all the time. And he is such a healer. And when you were saying that about colloidal silver, I'm like, no, colloidal silver is great. I did that in my inside because I just am like, I feel like defending him all of the time. I don't know. It's weird.
Ask him, well, why is it that there's claims that it's actually could be bad, and so then he explained why, but it's not the silver, it's the lead in it. I just my heart just loves silver. I don't. Growing up, my favorite metal had always been silver, 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 and I was so thrilled and excited. And when I heard you having experiences with him, I would want to engage with him, and maybe he was there and I just didn't sense him. But I almost feel like this puppy, like, oh, pay attention to me. And now that it happened, I feel like, oh my God, my heart just wants to cry. Like I met them. Yeah, it's just amazing. Anyways, it's just amazing, and it's just so exciting because I just love Silver, and I don't really know him yet.
I feel the same way. Do you know when I first met him, I was so like loving him that I started using like this one silver fork that I had. And it's like the only fork I ever wanted to use because it was silver. And it was like I was loving him or honoring him. And I bought this toothpaste that had silver in it. And I was just like, so I sound obsessed, but it was like just this love, like this. I love you. I want to honor you all the time. And so I get it. That's so
Oh,
funny that we both feel like that. But can I tell you
and
something cool?
yes.
Might be why. You know how I told you about the intertwining thing and how that intimacy is like such a big deal and all of creation basically has to come back to that. Um, when I had this first experience, the Lord showed me all this. There were only a few of us, like there were like 4 or 5 of us who willingly opened ourselves to that, and Silver was one of them. And I really believe that the reason we have such that tender love and honoring thing is because of how he is so intimate with the Father and how it's like a mutual intimacy thing. You know what I mean? Because when we're intimate with the Father, others who are intimate with the Father, like we love them so much we would do anything, you know? It's that whole like super intimate feeling. And so Anyway, I think that's probably why.
I love it. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, it's very cool. Awesome.
Christine, a couple of days ago, I was speaking to the Lord, reminding him of certain things,
Mhm.
and it was about the angels. I reminded him about that time when Jesus told me to walk through the woods. And as I walked through the woods, I was on this long desert journey. And it's, every time I go back into the encounter, I'm still on this journey. So in looking back at it, it seems as though it probably a year or more, but it's not in the natural. Every time I go back into it, it just felt like it. I've been in this desert for so long. I finally reached like this green place with the river, and Jesus was there, and other people were there, and I was so relieved to see him. I said, "Oh, Jesus, let me come over where you are, the other side of the river." And he said, "No, you need to go through the wood." I'm just condensing
Yeah.
what happened. He needs to go through the wood, and that sheer disappointment just consumed my heart. But I cried, I walked off, and I went through the wood. And as soon as I entered the wood, there was this person in front of me who had like a bit of stick, and there was someone on my left carrying my backpack, and there's another person on my right, and there's another person behind me. And we started this journey. It's like I'm reluctantly, like a child, like, oh, do I have to do this? You should know I'm tired. Why are you sending me through this place again? And the person in front had a bit of stick, and he was like clearing the way. And I ended up at the top of the hill, and that's where I saw Jesus, dressed in this old kind of whatever, and me standing next to him. And I was dressed as a boy. And it was that time I found you online. And I was listening to you when I went shopping, and you talked about you appeared as a boy or as a man. And I went, I'm so glad. It doesn't mean I'm going through any this transgender type thing now. It's okay. I can tell someone I appeared as a boy. It's okay. I don't have to because I was silent. It's like they're definitely going to think I'm freaking out now. And to hear you say you appeared as a boy, it was such a relief. And it was just the Lord showing me I am identical to him. I am his child. I'm made from him. But the main thing was about the angel that I reminded him of a couple of days ago. I said, I've just realized, Lord, that the angels weren't with me when I met you at the top of the hill. Long story short, the Lord was saying to me, it's because angels are given to me for a set period of time. Some are given to me for a short period of time. Others are with me for a longer period of time, depending on their mandate for me. And they were just to take me to the top of the hill and just leave me. So I said, Lord, I really want to thank them. What can I do to say thank you? And I'm thinking I can give them a gift because I remember sometimes Christine goes, oh, you can ask the Lord for a gift and then you can give it to someone. This is what I'm thinking. Or maybe I can give him a gift. And the Lord said, no, you honor angels by being obedient to them because they have been given to you for a purpose. And when you go along with their purpose and you don't resist them, that is honoring them. And it's like, I never thought of that. Would you say, I don't know, that's he just told me that a couple of days ago. Honoring the angels is just stop resisting them. The Lord has put them in your life for a reason. Just let them minister their purpose, God's purpose through them
That
to you.
makes total sense to me just because I see how much they respond. Like, well, a couple different ways. First of all, they get so excited just to be acknowledged. I think it is sad that hardly any of us acknowledge them. Like we don't even notice they're around or that they're there to do anything. And then when we ask them to do things, and when I say ask, I mean ask, not like demand. When we ask them to do things and they get to actually do their purpose, it's awesome. Um, when we try to boss them around to have them do things that's not their purpose, it's not honoring them. And I think I'm learning these things because I've done all that stuff. I've like asked them to do stuff that they're not supposed to do and been kind of irritated at them when they're not doing it. And it's been a problem with me, not with them. And there are things that, I mean, I've learned along the way about even interacting with them on a daily and asking them to do their job on a daily. That I just expected if I asked them one time that they would be doing that. And then I got mad at them that they weren't. And it was all my problem because I wasn't actually engaging them and whatever. And so I think a lot of times we don't recognize our part in activating them into their destiny. And their destiny does have to do a lot of times, especially those who are assigned to us, have to do with us. And so if we don't activate them into helping us and doing the things they're supposed to do, then they're just sitting there. I think of Onyx in a way. Okay, Onyx is my dog. Nadia saw Onyx today. He's a black dog, obviously. That's why his name is Onyx. But he is such a lover, joyful, obedient dog. He needs a job to do. Like, he's the kind of dog that if you don't give him a job, he is bored to death and he just ends up wanting to cause trouble. Like, he's not bad, but he'll like chase Mushy around or something and just constantly want to tear something up or whatever it is because I'm not giving him something to do. But when I give him something to do, he's the most obedient, so excited to help, like whatever. I mean, you should see how he is with treats. Like, I just tell him, okay, up and touch. And he touches. Oh, and I go gentle. And then he'll go, like he loves that stuff. He loves the job, And if I tell him, hey, go get that thing, he's like all over it, super excited to do what I tell him to do. And I feel like the angels that I've worked with are so similar. Not all of them. Some of them are a little bit more mature than that, but just there's this, oh my gosh, you're asking me to do something? Absolutely, Or one time I remember this one angel was so excited. I asked him to do something. He said, no, but I'll find someone who can. And I was like, okay, cool. But it was just like the excitement of wanting to partner and to do it and to have a job and to be able to be useful and not just be bored and doing flips on a banister because it's bored, like it's just, this is what happens all the time with angels. They just don't have anything to do. And so they're bored and they just kind of don't do anything helpful. And it's not their problem. It's me. It's us not recognizing them and working with them and all of that. And so anyway, I would say that's probably their best gift if you can actually activate them. That's what they get super excited about. So.
Well, the Lord showed me this particular angel. He was sitting there like this creamy Indian outfit, the Indian, like like a man, long tunic with embroidery around the bottom, embroidery around the arm, and then they wear the trousers under the long tunic just below well below their knees. He was sitting there, this man, like his legs akimbo, head in his arm on his chin and his arm like this, and he got chewing a bit of straw, and he's just looking about, and he's just like, and the Lord said, he is bored. And I went, oh my gosh, he is bored. I had 2 or 3 confirmations within 6 hours of that encounter for the day. I met a friend and leaving the house, she said, oh, that's my angel. I was listening to something, and this man said, oh, I didn't even know my spirit or my angel can be bored. And it's like for the day, not even 6 hours, I had three different confirmations about angels and angels being bored. And because I have had that experience with the Lord, Him explaining angels being sent to us for a particular purpose and a particular time and showing me that bored angels, from now on, I'm going to be all over the angels like white on rice.
That's awesome. I love it.
Is that you can't beat an experience. You can have head knowledge, but you can't beat an experience with, yeah,
What
100%.
thank
did
you,
you
Lord.
say? Like what on rice?
White on, it's the same.
White
It's
on
the same.
rice.
White on rice.
Yes.
Yes. That's funny. Well, I think that's awesome. I'm excited for you and for all of us to do this more. And if you're the kind of person that you're like, I don't get it, I don't see angels, I don't know, just ask the Lord, do I have any angels? Can you show me who they are? I mean, it's really that simple. Now, will he show you right away? If you're like me, no. I had to ask a million times before he would finally introduce me to my angels. And then it was just opened up to me. And so it's possible it won't be easy, but if you're persistent, it'll be great eventually. Because now it's funny, I feel like I don't interact nearly as much as I should with angels, but I also recognize I interact way more than most people. And so it's funny because even, it's kind of this whole thing about resolve. Um, I have had things opened up to me to where certain seasons I'm super excited about working with angels and I do it all the time. And then I just kind of forget. And then it's like, oh yeah, they are there. Shouldn't I interact with them? And it's something that I recognize I don't, when I'm not interacting with them often, it isn't on my mind that they can do things. So I think I'm alone. I think I'm just like having to figure out my computer problems by myself, or whatever, and there's so much that they can be helpful for. And so it's really awesome if we stick to who we are and recognize, yes, we're heavenly beings. Yes, we need to just be engaging in heaven constantly, and we can engage at the same time as living. Like we don't have to just be locked in a room, focused only on heaven and not be doing anything. If we can just do this while we're driving and talk to the angels that are traveling with us and, whatever, we can do that. We can be interacting all the time. Oh, I have this problem. Is there anyone who could help? When we're governing over our mountains, that we are just like, okay, Lord, are there any angels who want to help with this? And just do that. I mean, if we can be those people, it makes living from heaven so much easier because we're surrounded by people. And it's the same, like, even the scriptures talk about, because we're surrounded by such a great cloud of witnesses. I don't remember who it was. Oh, it was you, Pearl, who was talking about all of the people in the cloud becoming more and more in the room, right? And it's so true. If we recognize them, we honor them, we ask, are there any who are attached to this? Because a lot of the cloud of witnesses, they usually are kind of assigned to us if we have a common task in the earth that they were supposed to do. So like a certain destiny is shared. Does that make sense? And so if there's something that we're supposed to do that they were supposed to do, then we will partner with them and they will be around us. And so we can go, hey, is there anyone who is around who's attached to my destiny? And is there any part of my destiny that I'm not aware of yet that these people need me to do? Because they're always around too to help. And so there's so many. I'm not kidding about this whole boredom thing. It is weird, but I never even considered the angels could be bored. And now I've seen so many bored
I
people.
know.
It's weird, right? We just think, oh, of
I
course, they're
know.
doing the will of the Lord and they have nothing to do with us.
Yeah.
And that's not true. That isn't not true. There's so much that we need to partner with them with to be able to activate them on what they're supposed to do. Anyway, oh, we could go on for hours, you guys. It's 3:05. I'm so sorry. I thought we would engage together, but apparently that was only for the beginning of class. So um we should just continue this on this week and engage with one another. How are we connected? All of that. Try to really focus on this ditching the lukewarm thing and practicing resolve for the things that the Lord asks us to do. Yeah. Okay. Well, I love you guys. I guess I'll talk to you later. Bye.